The Love of Two Couples, a tale of Sarah, Jack, Emma, and Tom. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Willowdale, there lived two couples whose love stories intertwined in the most beautiful and unexpected ways. Sarah and Jack were childhood sweethearts, while Emma and Tom were two strangers whose paths crossed in the most unusual circumstances. This is their story, a story filled with love, laughter, pain, and a happy ending that would warm the hearts of everyone who heard it. Part 1. Sarah and Jack, a love that grew. Sarah and Jack met when they were just kids in school. They lived in the same neighborhood, went to the same elementary school, and were inseparable from a young age. Jack was always the adventurous one, climbing trees and playing soccer with the other boys, while Sarah preferred reading books and watching from the sidelines. Yet somehow, their opposite personalities fit together like pieces of a puzzle. One day, when they were both 11, Jack invited Sarah to come and watch the sunset from the hill behind their school. It wasn't anything special at first, just a fun moment between two friends. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, turning the sky pink and purple, Jack looked over at Sarah and felt something new, a warmth in his heart that he hadn't noticed before. "Isn't it beautiful?" Sarah asked, her eyes glowing as she stared at the sky. "It is," Jack agreed, though he wasn't looking at the sunset. He was looking at her. Years passed, and their friendship blossomed into something more. By the time they were in high school, Jack and Sarah were officially a couple, and everyone around them could see how much they loved each other. They did everything together, went to dances, studied for exams, and dreamed of the future. Jack wanted to become an architect, while Sarah dreamed of being a teacher. They knew that life would be challenging, but they promised to stick together no matter what. After graduation, Jack went to college to study architecture, while Sarah stayed in Willowdale to attend a local university. Long distance wasn't easy, but they made it work. They talked every night, sent each other letters, and visited whenever they could. The time apart only made their love stronger. After 4 long years, Jack graduated and came back home. With a degree in hand and a heart full of love for Sarah, he was ready to take the next step. On a warm summer evening, Jack took Sarah back to the same hill where they had watched the sunset all those years ago. This time, he had a plan. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and red, Jack got down on one knee. "Sarah," Jack began, his voice filled with emotion. "We've been through so much together. You've been my best friend, my love, and my partner in everything. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she nodded, her heart bursting with happiness. "Yes, Jack. Of course. I'll marry you." Their wedding was a small, intimate affair, filled with family and friends who had watched their love story unfold. It was a perfect day, and as they exchanged vows, everyone knew that Sarah and Jack were meant to be together forever. Part 2. Emma and Tom, a chance encounter. While Sarah and Jack's love story was one of growth and familiarity, Emma and Tom's was filled with surprises and unexpected moments. Emma was a writer who had just moved to Willowdale to start fresh after a difficult breakup. She had spent years in a relationship that left her feeling drained and lost, and now she was ready for a new chapter. Willowdale, with its charming streets and friendly people, seemed like the perfect place to begin again. Tom, on the other hand, was a firefighter who had lived in Willowdale his entire life. He was kind, hardworking, and always ready to help others. But his love life had never been a priority. He enjoyed his job and his friends, but deep down, he longed for someone to share his life with. One rainy afternoon, fate decided to intervene. Emma had been working in a small cafe, trying to focus on her writing, when the power suddenly went out. The rain poured down outside, and the cafe grew dark. Annoyed but determined to keep working, Emma decided to leave and head home. As she stepped outside, the wind picked up, and before she knew it, her umbrella was blown out of her hands and down the street. "Great," Emma muttered, watching as the umbrella tumbled away. Just as she was about to make a run for it, someone appeared out of the rain. It was Tom, who had just finished his shift at the fire station and was walking home. He saw Emma standing there, drenched with a frustrated look on her face. "Need some help?" Tom asked with a smile. Emma looked up at him, surprised. "I think my umbrella's gone for good." Tom chuckled and handed her his own umbrella. "Here, take this. You look like you need it more than I do." Emma hesitated but finally accepted the umbrella. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." "It's no problem," Tom replied. "I'm Tom, by the way." "Emma," she said, offering him a grateful smile. They stood there for a moment, awkwardly making small talk, before Tom finally asked, "Do you need a ride home? I have my truck just around the corner." "It's no trouble." Normally, Emma would have refused. She didn't like relying on strangers. But something about Tom's warm smile and kind eyes made her trust him. So, she agreed, and Tom drove her home. That small act of kindness sparked the beginning of something special. Over the next few weeks, Tom and Emma started seeing more of each other, first as friends, then as something more. Tom admired Emma's strength and independence, while Emma loved Tom's gentle heart and sense of humor. Their love grew quickly, fueled by laughter, long conversations, and shared experiences. Emma found herself falling for Tom in ways she had never experienced before. He made her feel safe, loved, and appreciated. Tom, too, realized that Emma was exactly what he had been searching for. One evening, after months of dating, Tom invited Emma to his favorite spot by the river. It was a quiet, peaceful place where he often went to clear his head after a long day at work. They sat together, watching the water flow gently by, when Tom turned to Emma, his heart full of love. "Emma," he began softly, "I never expected to find someone like you, especially not when I did. But now that I've found you, I can't imagine my life without you. Will you stay by my side forever?" Emma looked into Tom's eyes and felt her heart swell with emotion. "Yes, Tom, I will." Part 3, Lives Intertwined. Though their stories were different, fate had more in store for these two couples. Sarah and Jack had just bought their first home, a small but cozy house in the heart of Willowdale. It was everything they had dreamed of, and they were excited to start this new chapter of their lives. One day, as they were moving in, they met their new neighbors, Emma and Tom. "Hi, we just moved in next door," Sarah said with a smile, holding a basket of muffins as a friendly gesture. "I'm Sarah, and this is my husband, Jack." Emma and Tom greeted them warmly, happy to meet such friendly neighbors. "I'm Emma, and this is Tom," Emma replied. "We just moved here too, a few months ago." The two couples hit it off immediately. They started spending time together, going out for dinner, having barbecues, and sharing stories about their lives. It wasn't long before Sarah and Emma became close friends, bonding over their love for books and their shared experiences in life. Jack and Tom, too, found common ground. They both loved outdoor activities, and soon they were planning camping trips and hiking adventures together. Over time, the two couples became more like family. They supported each other through life's challenges, celebrated each other's successes, and grew even closer. Part 4. The Challenge. But as with all love stories, life wasn't always easy. One day, Jack received some devastating news. The architecture firm he had been working for was downsizing, and he was laid off. The news hit him hard. He had worked so hard to build a career, and now it felt like everything was crumbling around him. Sarah tried to comfort him, but Jack pulled away. He felt ashamed that he had lost his job and worried about how they would manage financially. Days turned into weeks, and Jack's mood only grew darker. "I don't know what to do, Sarah," Jack admitted one evening. "I feel like I've failed you." "You haven't failed me, Jack," Sarah replied gently. "We'll get through this together just like we always have." But Jack couldn't shake the feeling of failure, and it began to affect their relationship. He became distant, and Sarah didn't know how to reach him. Meanwhile, Emma and Tom were facing their own challenges. Emma had been offered a big opportunity to publish her first book, but it required her to move to a different city for a few months. Tom was proud of her, but the thought of being apart weighed heavily on him. "I don't want to hold you back," Tom said one evening as they discussed the offer. "But I don't know how I'll manage without you." "I don't want to leave you, Tom," Emma replied, torn between her dreams and her love for Tom. "But this is the opportunity I've been waiting for." The strain of the decision began to create tension between them. Tom wanted to be supportive, but the idea of Emma leaving for months made him feel uneasy and uncertain. Emma, on the other hand, felt torn between her career and her relationship. The tension grew, and the once easygoing dynamic between them became strained. As the weeks went by, both couples faced their own struggles, unsure of how to navigate these new challenges. Jack's frustration with his job situation made him pull away from Sarah, and Emma's looming decision about the book deal created distance between her and Tom. The two couples who had grown so close were now facing the biggest tests of their relationships. Part 5. A Wake-Up Call. One evening, Sarah decided she couldn't take it anymore. She missed the Jack she had fallen in love with, the man who had always shared his worries with her instead of pushing her away. She knew that the only way forward was to confront the issue head-on. "Jack," Sarah said softly as they sat in their living room, "we need to talk." Jack looked up from the floor, where he had been staring in silence. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know, Sarah. I've been distant, and I'm sorry." "It's more than that," Sarah replied, her voice gentle but firm. "We've always been a team. We've always faced everything together, but lately, you've been shutting me out. Losing your job doesn't change how I feel about you. We'll find a way through this together." Jack's eyes filled with tears as he finally let down the walls he had built up. "I've just felt like such a failure," he admitted. "I didn't want you to think less of me." Sarah shook her head, her eyes brimming with love and understanding. "Jack, I could never think less of you. You are the most hardworking, kind man I know. We're in this together, no matter what." For the first time in weeks, Jack allowed himself to lean on Sarah. He realized that he didn't have to face his struggles alone. They talked late into the night, discussing their fears, their hopes, and their plans for the future. By the end of the conversation, the weight that had been pressing down on Jack's shoulders felt lighter. Meanwhile, Emma and Tom had a similar moment of reckoning. After weeks of tension, Emma sat Tom down in their cozy living room, determined to talk things through. "Tom," she began, "I don't want us to fight about this anymore. I love you, and this decision has been tearing me apart. I need to know how you really feel." Tom sighed, his expression conflicted. "I want you to follow your dreams, Emma. I really do. But I'm scared. I'm scared of what it'll be like with you gone. I'm scared that things will change between us." Emma reached for Tom's hand, squeezing it gently. "I'm scared too," she admitted. "But this opportunity means so much to me, and I need to give it a shot. That doesn't mean I love you any less. I want us to make it through this together." Tom looked into her eyes and realized how much this opportunity meant to her. He knew that if he truly loved her, he had to support her dreams, even if it meant being apart for a while. "I'll miss you like crazy," Tom said with a small smile, "but I'll be here, waiting for you. We'll get through this, Emma." They hugged tightly, both feeling a sense of relief that they were on the same page again. Emma promised to come home as often as she could, and they made plans to stay connected during her time away. Part 6. Rebuilding and Renewing. With their problems out in the open, both couples began to rebuild the bonds that had frayed. Sarah and Jack worked together to come up with a plan for their future. Jack started freelancing as an architect, taking on smaller projects while he searched for a more permanent job. The pressure wasn't gone, but Jack felt hopeful again, knowing that Sarah was by his side every step of the way. They spent more time together, going on walks, having quiet dinners, and even revisiting the hill where Jack had proposed. The more they shared, the closer they became, and slowly but surely, the distance between them disappeared. Emma, too, left for the city to work on her book, but she and Tom stayed in constant contact. They talked every day, and Tom even visited her on the weekends whenever he could. The distance was hard, but they were both committed to making it work. Emma poured her heart into her writing, knowing that Tom's love and support were behind her every step of the way. As the months passed, Emma's book began to take shape, and she felt proud of what she was accomplishing. She missed Tom terribly, but she knew that this experience was only strengthening their relationship. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Part 7. A New Beginning. After several months, Emma's book was finally finished, and she returned to Willowdale. Tom was waiting for her at the train station, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite. As soon as Emma stepped off the train, she spotted him and ran into his arms. The months apart had been difficult, but seeing Tom again made everything feel right. "I missed you so much," Emma whispered as they hugged. "I missed you too," Tom replied, pulling back to look at her. "I'm so proud of you, Emma. You did it." Emma smiled, feeling a rush of love for the man who had supported her through everything. "We did it," she corrected, knowing that she couldn't have done it without him. Back in Willowdale, life returned to a new normal for the two couples. Sarah and Jack had found their rhythm again, with Jack's freelance business thriving and Sarah enjoying her work as a teacher. They spent their evenings planning for the future, dreaming of starting a family and building a life filled with love and happiness. Emma's book was published a few months after her return, and it was a huge success. Tom was her biggest supporter, always cheering her on at book signings and events. He couldn't have been prouder of her. Part 8. The Proposal. One evening, not long after Emma's book was released, Tom decided it was time to take the next step in their relationship. He had been thinking about it for months, and now that Emma was back in Willowdale for good, he knew the moment was right. He planned a surprise dinner at the riverside spot where they had first confessed their love to each other. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the water, Tom took Emma's hand. "Emma," he began, his voice filled with emotion, "these past few years with you have been the best of my life. We've been through so much together, and I can't imagine my life without you in it. I love you more than words can say. Will you marry me?" Emma's eyes filled with tears as she smiled, her heart overflowing with happiness. "Yes, Tom," she said softly. "Yes, I'll marry you." Tom slipped the ring onto her finger, and they kissed under the setting sun, both filled with joy and excitement for their future together. Part 9. Happily Ever After. Sarah and Jack were thrilled for Emma and Tom, and together, the two couples celebrated the engagement with a small party at their home. It was a night filled with laughter, love, and the warmth of true friendship. A few months later, Tom and Emma were married in a beautiful ceremony by the river, with Sarah and Jack standing by their side as witnesses. It was a day full of love and joy, and as the sun set over the water, everyone knew that these two couples had found their happily ever after. Years passed, and the love between Sarah and Jack and Emma and Tom only grew stronger. They faced life's challenges together, supported each other's dreams, and built lives filled with love, laughter, and happiness. In the end, it wasn't just about the romantic gestures or the big moments. It was about the small, everyday acts of love that made their relationship strong. It was about the way they stood by each other through thick and thin, always choosing to love and support one another no matter what. And so, Sarah and Jack, and Emma and Tom, lived their lives in Willowdale, surrounded by love, friendship, and the promise of many happy years to come. The end.